Greetings and welcome to Jefficho Films. Today we're going to go back all the way to 1959. This is the oldest movie review I've ever done. Why? Because it's got Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, two of my faves. And it's a Sherlock Holmes story. So let's review The Hound of Baskervilles.
This may teach you to criticize my pleasures.
If 'twere anyone but my own daughter, master.
You should be proud that a Baskerville should so much as look at your miserable child.
This movie starts out with a man getting thrown out a window by Sir Hugo Baskerville. Sounds like he was defending his daughter, who Hugo has locked up in a room, and he's going to give to another man he lost a bet to. She wisely went out the window. I do like how these old English movies make everything they say sound so classy and elegant.
She's got away.
Hugo decides to call for a hunt and unleashes a pack of the cutest dogs. Even his friends, who seem pretty questionable, try to talk him out of it, but he's already on his horse. Probably shouldn't say things you're going to regret, though.
My friends, you cannot do this. I'll get her. May the hounds of hell take me if I can't hand her down.
The chase is on and she tries to outrun the dogs. I'm not sure why. They just want to play. But then we hear a howl off in the distance. He tracks her down to an abandoned, dilapidated castle, calls her a witch, and kills her, as you do. At least he gets his comeuppance. And this story is read to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson by Dr. Mortimer. And the reason he's telling them this story is because Sir Charles Baskerville just died by the Abbey ruins, the same place as Hugo, and there were no footprints. Sherlock agrees to look into it as Sir Henry Baskerville, played by Christopher Lee, intends to move there as it's worth quite a bit, but he warns him of an impending danger.
Sir Henry, keep perfectly still if you value your life.
See what I told you before? Tarantulas used to be the most deadly spider because no matter what she said, size matters. Sherlock realizes that his life is in danger and everybody else is downplaying it. They're not superstitious. It should be. But Sherlock's busy to the end of the week, so he says he'll meet them there. He sends Watson to accompany Henry and Mortimer. Mortimer says he's going to walk across the moor, even though Perkins warned him of an escaped serial murderer.
I feel you should let us take you into the village, Mortimer. He might be anywhere out there.
Don't you worry about me. I can look after myself. Goodbye.
Henry's getting the tour by Barrymore, one of the servants, and his wife, and they toast and they have a drink. Watson asks him about finding the body of Sir Charles. In the dead of night, Watson hears the cries of a woman coming from a room, but nothing comes of it. The next day, Bishop Frankland comes by to see Henry, and he likes his sherry, like he likes to drink a lot of it.
Now, it's the best sherry in Devon. I always say, Sir Charles knew his creature comforts all right. I've seen him with some very attractive creatures at times. Yeah.
Bishop requests that Henry leads a local sale that they customly do. Watson goes exploring and runs into Mr. Stapleton and sees that he's setting traps. He's Henry's neighbor. He also runs into Cecile Stapleton, who leads him into the marsh and certain death. Mr. Stapleton saves him and explains that she probably ran thinking he was an escaped convict. Well, why was she smiling? I think it's because she's fucking nuts. Stapleton drives him back to Henry's estate where Henry meets Cecile. Yeah, she's fucking weird.
Why did you run away? I've done nothing to frighten you.
My father, he would have seen us.
Well, what of it?
That night, Henry hears some noises coming from the same room, so him and Watson rush in and see a lit candle.
There's someone out there signaling to the house.
Far too curious, they rush out to the moor together at night, which was something they were told not to do, and they see the escaped prisoner. But then they hear a howl, and Henry feels chest pains, heart pains, which runs in the family. I think more likely he was poisoned in his whole family line, but that's just a theory. Watson gets Dr. Mortimer to come by to look after Henry and watch him while he goes investigates the moor, where he's surprised by Holmes, who apparently has been there for some time now. And then they hear the howl. Then they head back and they see that Mortimer's car is gone.
For heaven's sake, which way? Too late. We're too late, Sir Henry.
I don't understand Holmes' giant leap here, though, because we see the back of a jacket is torn like it was ripped to shreds by a hound, but that wouldn't be the cause of death. We don't even see Henry's head. They just assume Henry's dead because he was wearing that outfit, and they don't even go over there. Like, that's quite the assumption. I assume just because this is a movie they want us to think something. They head back to the house, and they see a light on at the end of the hall in that room, and they go in and they find Sir Henry, which, duh, yeah, like, why would he run out there and get killed? Doesn't make any sense. Holmes thinks it was Selden. Getting caught up, and Holmes is getting a bit of the tour of the place, and he's deducing the fuck out of the place.
What happened to the picture that hung here?
That one? Nobody knows. It disappeared some time ago.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, it had to. Stupid of me.
The next day the body is gone, but there's blood on the rock where the servant girl was killed, and the knife is there. Stapleton goes inside the tombs and finds the body of Selden. Back at the estate, Holmes asks the Barrymore some questions. Selden was her brother, and she caves.
Your name was Selden before you married, wasn't it? And the convict who escaped was your brother?
How did you know?
Your brother told me.
Holmes and Watson go to visit Bishop Frankland. Gee, I wonder if his spider was used on the attempt on Henry's life. We find out that the Stapletons and Dr. Mortimer were the last people to be there before the spider went missing.
I did lose a tarantula. I missed it last Thursday. I've been worried out of my life ever since. They're dangerous, you know.
So I understand, but you needn't worry any longer. The spider is dead.
Henry visits the Stapleton estate and runs into Cecilia, who says her dad went to his place to invite them all to dinner. She's bitter about being in England as she was raised in Spain, and her mother died and dad spent all their money to be an English farmer, but the land is no good. So Henry asks the important questions.
Why did you kiss me, Cecile?
Our paths seem to have crossed this morning, Sir Henry.
Awkward when Dad walks in on you. Been there. Holmes and Watson talk to Mortimer, and he does a great job of riling him up and then calms him down with flattery to get more information out of him. He then shows him the dagger, and then it's off to the mines with Dr. Mortimer and Stapleton because it's on his estate.
You carry on, Mr. Holmes, while we chop the wheels.
Certainly.
Here you are.
Thank you.
Interesting they had Holmes go on without them. Highly suspicious. He finds something, they all hear the howl, and then the roof caves in. Watson wants to find another way in, but it's pointless.
I did warn him not to go. You were there. You heard me, didn't you, Watson?
There's still a chance.
A very good chance. I've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes waiting for you.
Holmes!
He tells Watson he found a beef bone down in the mines. And also when they got back to the place, his tobacco's been moved and the dagger that was in the locked drawer is gone. Then he's rude to Henry and gets told about the invitation to dinner, but he declines. Henry walks back with Cecilia, and Sherlock drops the bomb on us.
The fingers of Sir Hugo's right hand were webbed.
Stapleton.
Exactly, Stapleton. Illegitimate descendant of Sir Hugo, next in line to the Baskerville fortune.
They head out on foot and arrive at the Abbey ruins, which I'm assuming Cecilia is going to lead him right there into a trap which Stapleton will spring. Side note, now that we have all the facts, Henry's making out with his niece. She plays hard to get, but she did totally lead him right there, and then she admits to being complicit.
Your dear uncle, he died here, didn't he? Died because he wanted me, like you. Died because he wanted a woman enough to bring me here alone at night.
Oh God, Henry, you don't understand. I too am a Baskerville. I too have been making out with other relatives and leading them to their certain death. I told you this bitch was crazy. We hear her howling a large dog as it runs off and attacks Henry. Then the Stapletons have this dagger, and Holmes has to shoot one of the Stapletons, and then he shoots the dog, and that's an interesting sound. The Hound attacks Stapleton, and by attacks I mean, don't go too far, doggy, no, stay here by my head, here's a treat, keep pretending that you're eating me. Cecilia grabs the dagger, and they chase her off. Then they watch as Cecilia runs into the marsh to die.
So the curse has claimed its last victim.
Yes. No more will be heard of the Hound of the Baskerville.
They could have run down to save her, but I guess getting her confession wasn't as important. Holmes and Watson have tea. The end. The great thing about having Peter Cushing on this was he was an aficionado of Sherlock Holmes. He brought all his knowledge to this project. Christopher Lee was great in this. They got to work together. It's always pleasant to see that. I always like the Hounds of Baskerville. All the stories have a bit of a different twist to them. This one was pretty good. A movie from 1959, pretty entertaining. I enjoyed it. I do recommend it. It's always been a darker one. Of all the Sherlock Holmes stories, I've always found this to be one of the darker ones, and that's why I've always enjoyed it.
They use this mask to make it look more terrifying. It was starved for weeks, kept down the mind till the time was right, then given the scent.
Hounds tearing people apart. Except it was a dog dressed up as an evil hound. Kind of like Brotherhood of the Wolf, but not a dog. Great movie. One day. Till then, as always, thanks for watching.